Actually, I had a broker call me, and he found my way here. I was at a bank doing margins, and he said, I got a commodity house that wants a margin. Teller. And I said, I could do that. And he said, well, what's the difference? I said, well, it's the same thing. You take the value of the contract and the percentage that needs to be put up, and you just judge it by that. So we interviewed with Maury Schneider, whose father was one of the originators of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and he hired me on the spot. So it was easy. And my educational background was like 2 years of college and working at a bank while I did that. And I was really into money all the time, and playing poker when I was 4. And all these things gave me numbers, and this is a number business. So when I started here, I was like a natural. First seat, I bought the associate membership, was $50,000, and my daddy backed me, and he had just sold a house. He had the money, and so he came in, and I came in, and I had the $50,000 in the bank, and I bought the seat. I'm trying to think, was it 50 or 30? 30,000. I think it was. So my dad gave me the money, and then I paid him back. Funny story. Paid him back, put it into a treasury bill, earning 18%. I brought my brother-in-law in, Walter Haller. He traded over at the Merc in the Eurodollars. And then a while after that, I talked to my other brother-in-law, who was 1968 Rookie of the Year for the Cubs, starting pitcher 69 through 71. And then he came down, and he also went in the Eurodollars and with my other brother-in-law and started trading down there.
Who was that?
Rich Nye, now doctor of veterinary medicine. Physically, it was very difficult, but I can say I'd get there at 7 o'clock, get my spot in the pit, and J.J. O'Doherty, all 6'3", 230 pounds of him, would come and say, oh, we got our spot, honey. And he'd stand there and stand with their legs apart. And I stood right between his legs for years. So, and he protected me. I'm very lucky, very, very lucky. I guess laughing at so many of the guys, I wrote that book. And in my book, I talk about an experience with Terry Cullerton, when he lost $250,000 on the opening bell. And he was watching me, sort of standing like this, and he's waiting to see. There's a report out, and I'm reading it. And then he's watching my hands, and the minute I went like this, he went nuts. He came in short. I guess my one was my little Michael Forbeck that killed himself. And I walk in the pit, and he was JJ's best friend, and we stood there all day, like crying. And to just think that, because he'd lost $50,000, so what? I said, don't worry, I'll get it back for you tomorrow. And killed himself over the 4th of July weekend. So that was hard, and you lost so many friends down there. And drugs got heavy, and then people got into it, so you'd lose all these good friends. And I was so lucky, because I was like one of the guys. You wouldn't think it, but you were. A lot of tension all around you. The fighting broke out, fist fights. It was rough. And I think I had one experience when I stood there crying in the pit. And I remember the guy, Hogg, that was his badge. And he picked me up in his arms, dragged me out of the pit, and he says, you can't be in that pit crying. Joyce, you can't do that. And he said, you go home. And he put me down on the floor, and I said, okay, bye, and I left. I broke up with my boyfriend, and then they were there, and there were people, just really strange things. So that was something that broke my heart, besides all the other people I lost. Well, if you were sharp and aggressive, it was phenomenal. I, dated people, they were worth him. The Rocket, Rick the Rocket, loved it. Made $1 million, lost $1 million. Made $3 million, lost $3 million. Made $30 million and kept it, made $133 million. So, it was that way. If you were aggressive and you kept fighting, you could make the money. But you had to be bright and aggressive. I guess as a woman, an important factor that is you have good feel. You see things other people don't see. And I certainly did. I was that way from little on. But So my style was using my feel. I did charts every night, so I had my chart points. I get near my chart points and buy or sell like I felt I would do. But feel, that's what I call it, feel, that's where I did it and what I saw and heard. I closed my position off on Friday morning before the crash. I said, they're going to knock the hell out of this market on Monday. I don't want to be here. And at the time, I was working with Billy and Eddie O'Connor. He was the vice chairman. And I said, I don't want to be here. So I went up. We watched the market open on Friday, and they were calling it, like 75 lower. And I went, 175. Market opens, 175. Billy goes, how'd you know that? Feel. Women's intuition. I used to like that term. Isn't that a good one? Women's intuition. That changed day to day, moment to moment. If I had my high points, my low points, we got up to my high points, then I'd start getting a little bearish. Or if I felt that bullish feeling, then I just buy it and stand there like this for a while. But I played both sides. I charted, and when, charts look like they're going up, I was bullish. Looked like they were going down, I was bearish. So I played both sides. Openings could be very, very tense. You would be standing there shaking. I'd felt that a lot, and I wouldn't have a position on, but I would feel that tension from everybody around me. I got in there and I bid like everybody else. So if they're trying to sell, I'd be three bid, and you just stay there, and they'd probably go 50, 50, 50, and then I'd get the last few left. I was the last count. So, but the brokers were fair, I think, and pretty equal with everybody. If they had 100 lot to move, they had 100 lot trader they went to, especially like in the bonds. But if they had smaller, they'd divide it up, and they were probably pretty good about keeping it equal because they never knew when they'd need you. There was always a jerk, as we could say, here and there. And there were some that were difficult. There were days when I'd yell at them, and because they would be thinking only of themselves, run through my order when I was filling orders for a while there. I had a guy do that one day. I'm 5, but he sells 100 at 4. Well, now I'm responsible for the 5s. And then it go right back up, 5, 6 again. So being a broker, has its good and bad days. Well, you'd see people help people out, like what you're just talking about. If something like that happened, like I'd had it when someone ran through me one time and I'm hung on the trade, the guy across the pit went like that, sold to me because he got the better price. So you would see people doing ethical, unethical. They would try to help you, but if someone ran through you, those traders around you would try to help you out. Barry Lind, who was a good friend of mine over at the Mark, I think in a lot of the things that he would say would be a good mentor to me. Ron Goldenberg and Chris Haymeyer had their company. They would help come over and say, Joyce, I think you're doing a little too much of this. But as an actual mentor, someone that really led me, no, but a lot of people watched over me. And I think John Gelderman over at the Mark, he was great. He mentored a lot of people, helped a lot of people. And so you saw it everywhere. C.C. Odom, as we were talking earlier, he was very, very good to people. He'd come over and he'd say something like off the wall, like, why did you do that? And I'd go, I don't know. Then it made you think about it. So you did have people that more helpers than mentors. Rob Moore, fantastic trader, and Dick File. Those guys were great. There were a lot of scalpers I kept my eye on to see what they would do. And then I stood next to a guy that worked for the Ritchie brothers. I'd like to see what they were doing because they were very bright. I was on some things with the bonds. I actually wound up being head of the bond floor conduct committee. And all these guys are going, what, are you going to break up the fights? And I'd say, no, you're going to do that for me. And they say, okay, Joy, okay. So I was on that, and I was on one of the something when we were bringing the item seats in, and I did some training. More after I came out of the pit, because I think I got on a electronic system at home, and I looked at it just like I would look at the boards up there, but more of charts. But I'd like to chart myself. I get chart books and put the lines in. When I'd put the line in, then I remember the high, low, close. I mean, I could go back and tell you highs and lows from 20, 30 years ago, and people go, how do you know that? It just stays there. So certain things stay in. The fact that they were cutting back the trading, and possibly, even though I hate to say this, age. Because I was down, I started in 68, and I left around, actually 11, I was doing like other things. I wrote my book in 11, so 2011. But just physically, the gruelingness of being in there and the changing that was going as they were moving more into algorithms, a different way of looking upon things.